I am the from the state Kerala, in the south end of India. I am 66 years old, and, and during this period, in these years or decades, I happened to be with various kinds of poets, writers, artists, activists, learned people, thinkers, political leaders, extremists, criminals, so many. And this kind of introspection happens to me very frequently these days. And this poem, this is the first poem I wish to read, and the name is Close By. Very near, close by.
Yes.
It is after witnessing a series of explosions in Delhi, Bombay, in our own land, our state, many parts of India and many parts of the world. It is explosion is a violent utterance, a violent word, or a violent cry. And a journalist, she is having an alert and sensitive mind, interviews an extremist. That is the backdrop of this poem. Close by. Nina, channel reporter, quipped. Mr. Nasser, which is your bigger success? The Delhi blast, the Mumbai one, or this? The one here burned into ashes, a language we can no more speak. Broke to pieces, the meanings within memory, the cool shade within the meanings, the dream within the faith, the song within the dream. They were enough for the poor to survive. Shreds of screams lay entangled in the camera and the cable. It was impossible to know whether in their screams they said, "You do not know what you are doing," whether they prayed the Lord to forgive you. Verbs tired of carrying the masculine gender stood on the streets of screams, awaiting their turn. People fast forgot the voice of the slain. The language of the slayer grew clearer and louder. In the voices from within, the rolling of the dice, the abusive daughter of the denuder, the abusive laughter of the denuder. Some tales grope on the highway, uncertain whom to follow to heaven, smelling dharma. Some tales of the dog who followed Dharmaputra to heaven, to paradise, and it is from that allusion is with Mahabharata, the great Indian epic. Some tales grope on the highway, uncertain whom to follow to heaven, smelling dharma. Tell us, Nasser, was this the success you aimed at? Nasser did not speak, just spat a mouthful of blood and showed his mouth, no tongue. It had been chopped off. The blood of language filled the mouth. The furnace ready to burn down all the 14 worlds. There ends the poem. It is my response to such a violent historical paragraph. This has turned our great tradition into a great tragic moment. I think it is not the experience of the Indian people alone. It is more in Sri Lanka. It is more than everywhere.
I translated this poem
In Sinhala.
into Sinhala. In translating, images that you have taken from several Indian incidents, but then my mind was filled with many other incidents. Sri Lanka, Cambodia, and even this day-to-day things that we hear from, Palestine. So this seems to be some kind of a universal
Yes.
aspect in this whole.
This is one of the modern experiences we have to address with memory and with analytical alertness. Another one is Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe here comes as a representative, business representative of the globalized new times. He comes to China for business purposes, and through that we can read the going back of China to capitalism, imperialism, and forgetting all the dreams of socialism. And this is the situation. Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe sailed to Shanghai ashore in a fiber boat, anchoring the 7th Trade Fleet in Yellow Sea. Oh, Chinese soil, sunlight, my salute. Trying to find his way to the revolving restaurant, Crusoe roamed around the Shanghai Bund, saw the way, took the elevator to the top, grabbed a chair. The restaurant was revolving slowly, maybe due to its communist axis, only leftward, anti-clockwise. Gazing to his left, Crusoe saw the Pacific Ocean, China, the east, the west, a crouching satellite, the new Confucius of China, orbiting the eastern horizon. Crusoe felt he is transforming into a character of Gabriel Garcia Marquez with an innate ability to pulse the Earth's rotation. The waiter came from the left, heard with the left ear, wrote with the left hand, and went to the left. He came back with deck dishes of 3 flavors and a glass of whiskey. Sir, 3 choices of Beijing duck, boiled in a mix of salt and pepper, the classical one, what Lavaso preferred. 2. The curry, dipped in soya sauce, what the emperors enjoyed during the years of revolution. 3. The fry, grilled in salt and pepper and flavored with bear blood sauce, Mao's delicacy during the Cultural Revolution. Prepared from the Chinese ducklings, only the ingredients are imported. Sip by sip, ascending the heights of whiskey, tasting the new essence of wisdom, hidden in the bone marrows of the past, Crusoe feasted without a hurry, tasting London, New York, Paris, Amsterdam, and elsewhere in Shanghai, seeing world as a single trade center, humanity as a single consumer race. The restaurant kept revolving leftward like a huge clock traveling back in time, and the world was revolving rightward. Yes, okay.
Were you trying to reflect only on China,
Or the entire world was revolving rightward. And then after a century of great struggles and revolution to take the world history to the left, to the people's part. Right side, there are the leaders, the rulers are on the right, and the people are on the left. It was our history of the last century was a history of revolution, liberating people from these monstrous leaders and rulers. But power is still with them. Time is going in the right way. The world is going more and more, becoming more and more right. I think it is more brutal than in the years of the feudalism. Only thing is that we are hearing some kinds of slaying, some news of slaying. This morning happened, this slaying of the American journalist, and hundreds of it. We are knowing things. We are keeping aware of what is happening in the world. When we go deep into that experience, we are realizing that things are going back to brutality, to violence, to lovelessness, forgetting every value, intimacy, depth, and the dream of becoming to a higher and nobler levels of life. The dream is leaving us.
how do you see that now after the last century? You see the enormous, huge events and the huge participation of people for change. A kind of sacrifices that we have never seen before, purely to bring about what they thought was a better setup. But then it's getting culmination, as we see now, is more of the loss of everything of value, more mundane, and more violence. The splitting of life into moments of life into almost nothing. How do you see this?
A simple and a direct answer is not possible to a question like this, because every moment we are being crushed by this violent experience of the time. I think it was in 1917 when the Russian Revolution came into a success. This people's movement with the great dream gave hope, dream, and a positive energy to all struggling communities of the world. Every language was inspired by the dream of socialist emancipation and liberation. But gradually, people could read what was happening behind the Iron Curtain in Soviet Union. It was one of the highest rate of human killings. No ideology ever killed such a huge amount of mankind in the name of love or value or socialism or any kind of equality. Now, hundreds of pages of KGB papers tells us that what was happening in Soviet Russia at that period. Thousands of people were brutally murdered. Number exceeds than that of what Hitler could in the gas chambers of his his game. This made a new despair with the mankind, one side, and this was the beginning of a new kind of criticism, resistance with the mankind. People started to resist all kind of totalitarian ideologies and power structures. People identified that there is fascism behind every chair, behind every power. And it grew beyond what Russell told us, that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is beyond, more than what Russell was telling us. It is not really corruption. If it is corruption, it is corruption of the very self, corruption of the thinking mode, the corruption of understanding, corruption of communication, corruption, all around, total corruption of the human culture. Fascism, with its very presence, ignites fear with every mind. If it is idle or active, that fear is more and more active. You are not sure you will return home with a peaceful mood and a full body. Some of your limbs can be lost. Threats are there. Fear is with everybody. Fear is with the most brave man. Fear is with that most alert man. Fear is with the most responsive mind. Fear is with everyone. Now I remember the lines of T.S. Eliot in his master poem, The Wasteland. I can show you fear in a handful of dust. You can take that handful of dust down from any corner of the earth. Fear is there. This kind of state of affairs was not our goal, was not our dream. This kind of great human moments were not aimed at reaching in this, landing at this moment of this experience of fear. With fear, we are protesting. And we are taking fear as a sense of alertness. We are transforming fear into love. We are filtering this fear into knowledge, and we are gaining some new wisdom out of fear. So everything can be grown out in the fields of fear. This is not a good condition to live with. We are all restless in our mind. Nobody, the most happily dancing children also are in fear. The only thing now, embracing the whole humanity is fear, not pleasure, not love, not a peace, not a satisfaction, not a hope. This is there. We are fighting within us the fear, and we are fighting out of us the fear. Our present day dream to me is that we are trying to drive out this devil named fear. It is not a product of myself or anybody living individually in this. This is a collective product, and everywhere. The dominating feature of present culture is society is fear.
See now, if you, in a more practical sense, if you look at it, when United States acts either in the Middle East, Iraq, or in these countries, they are also acting in fear. Then you see the other side, the ISIS, the Hamas, or all these people, they also act in fear. Then you get the extreme forms of fear being expressed in the most inhuman terms by Israel. They also respond in fear. And then you go to the other side into, Putin and all this. So every side is acting out of fear. So who is acting in terms of any hope in this context? Somebody must say earlier times, the fear comes out of somebody who wants to achieve something. And then he creates fear on others. But here, who achieves anything in this whole setup?
I think humanity is now is a great herd of refugees. We can see on a very wide screen that humanity is passing through time as a very, very infinite herd of refugees. That element of the spirit, that subject of spirit, refugee can be seen in every mind. Putin or Obama or any modern ruler is unable to solve any problem within their state or within the world. I don't think they have any solution. They can make problems. I now remember some sentences of what Shahid was telling in an interview. The Narayanganj court is a faraway place. To go to Narayanganj court is a great challenge. You have walked kilometers to the river, and you have to cross the river, and then you have to go instant distances and distances and distances and distances. You never reaches the court. And if you reach the court, you will not going to get justice. You are not being attended by anyone. You are not getting solution to any of your questions. And your tears are not going to be touched by anyone. This is the crux of the day we are living through, passing through. But beyond that, we are stressing our own mind to produce hope. Poetry in all languages of the world today is trying to find out, to produce hope, to reinstate a dream. I think poetry is one of the finest mode of writing history today, because poetry makes not the voices of the tongue, it records the pulses. Poetry of the period of Lenin and Stalin was writing the real history of that period. Just now we were discussing about the poetry of Anna Akhmatova, Marina Sadeva, Mayakovsky. If we are reading their poetry today, we feel that this was the real history of that days. Not the one written by C.G. Jung or other the psychologists or the historians. Poetry can record the struggles for making hope. Poetry can record the resistance movements all over the world. Poetry is getting more and more political. It is personal is political for poetry, and universal is personal for poetry. This kind of a change in creative culture happens everywhere on earth, in all languages, and this is the only asylum for people today. That is my feeling. I can do meaningful only in writing poetry. I have led many rallies and jadas on the streets of Kerala for many things, for many causes, but it was a momentary action. It stood on the news for 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 months. Another fresh issues come, this will be washed out. Then some continuity should be there in our own values of resistance, in our own protest. We should every day we have to fresh, not the body. We got to refresh the thinking pattern. We have to criticize our own self. We have to test what is wrong with our mode of thinking. How we become a monster. We have to look into it. This kind of introspection is very compulsory in times we are passing through, because unbecoming of ourselves is the temptation today, the dominating temptation today, and the most monstrous possibility too.
Do you see in the Indian context many other poets like that?
Number of poets in all languages, all Indian languages. There are very good poets writing today. They were writing for the last 4 or 5 decades. When we define it generally, these poems are poems of dissent. They don't agree with the dominating voices, the fascist voices, or the communal voice, or the voice of the violence. They were standing with the wounds, with the tears, with the starvation, with the poverty, with the Adivasis, with the tribals, with the rejected ones. Contemporary Indian poetry is, my reading, there are lots and lots of unwanted things are being published, but there are very good poems. In all languages, not in one language, in Hindi, Bengali, in Odisha, in Gujarati, Marathi, Malayalam, Kannada, everywhere we can see very good poetry. Because of the feminist movements, only one ideology of the present itself, we can see a number of women poets. That is a very peculiar growth of our poetry, in Indian poetry, during the last 50 years. Girls writing poems has increased, number of girls writing poems has increased wonderfully in all languages. And they are writing very good poems too, without the weight of any knowledge system, without the weight of any philosophy or ideological things. They are simply recording the 1 or 2 moments in the last day, or a particular experience, or a thing. Very simple things are being written, but through that they can enter the heavy junctions of the contemporary history. The poetry has changed too. And poems from the Adivasi and tribal groups, their political movement is going on, and the resistance actions are there. They are brutally murdered or rejected, but poems for them or poems by them are also being written.
What is something unique in the women's poetry?
Women's poetry, they are, first impression is they are very honest than the men poets, because they don't have any preoccupation with any ruling ideology or any dominant way of thinking. They are more impulsive, more simple, more direct in all languages. They realize the condition of women in India. The gender issue came to the forefront of cultural discourses during this time. The class, it is more powerful and more real than the classical Marxist class positions. The violence, domestic violence, has been recorded. Nowhere in history such an amount of this kind of writing history was in our poetry. We thought that all houses are full of joy or full of happiness or full of satisfaction or full of love. But when we get into a home, we will gradually realize that there are discontents, there are lovelessness, there are forms of violences, hatred, and every house is a bit of hell. This kind of going to the home within our mind, to the sphere of various experience within, through that reconstruction of the house reveals that the weight of domestic violence today. Because torture, social torture, we know very well. The police, torture by the police, okay. But that is more profound and heavy is the self-torture one has to undergo in a situation of domestic violence. So self-torture by the teenagers or the children or the girls or the very old members of the family. Everyone is silent or everyone is shouting something, but the major activity of their psyche is self-torture. That torture is very, 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 very high in growth rate today. I shall read another one. Joker. The name of the poem is Joker. History stuffs and converts great isms into great jokes. Marathon debates, struggles for independence, adventures of love, arguments and laments into great jokes, suitable for any occasion, local or global. Fear and cry are short-lived. Joke is eternal. This bookseller is selling this. Bookseller or a joke seller. And his argument is that fear and cry are short-lived. Joke is eternal. Everything human keeps within a seed of a joke, a time bomb of laughter. Don't they say to become history is to become a joke, or to be a joke is to be archaic. Old age, disease, death, globalization, malls, multiplexes, metros, mobile phones, internet, or a new satellite will change the story of our life into a Cartoon Network tomorrow. It will download our tensions, worries, and inventions into a joke tomorrow. We have to be able to laugh then, don't we? We have to tell T.S. Eliot that this laughing spirit is the third who walks always beside us. And this joke is what the river sweats.
See, I translated this poem also. And now actually if you transfer what you say into, say, in more direct terms, see say we talk about, say, the American Revolution, all the documents it has created, the constitutions it has created, the big the thinkers and all that. And what all this is ultimately have come to. Then you see the other side. Everything has been turned into a joke. Then you have to say the other side. You take the huge attempts that was made in the leftists, the world. The whole attempts of huge sacrifice. It produces a Stalin. Very opposite of everything that those people thought of, wrote about, dreamt about, and thought that they were really living for. Then they produce a Stalin. And then we get back to, say, the whole, I remember as a young person, we thought that, something huge thing is happening in China. We thought nearby, and today with all the more knowledge about what is there, then again we see the joke of everything that was told and everything that is. So here is the real big issue. Now we talked about, how much of sacrifice people have made for democracy. Every country, British, whole struggles, centuries of struggles. What have they produced at the end? Everything had been, Parliament we thought is a place where, people talk and produce, big consensus of ideas of others and unite people. And today we find that's a place where the disunite people. Most trivial things are being talked about. Nothing that is really profound or to look into. So, practical terms, what you say there is what we see into all these bigger things.
Will the myth of unity ceased to exist? There is some communism or any ideology, any faith in any religion or any god. We expected during the upsurge of the Renaissance age, we are hoping that these ideologies are uniting mankind. But when we are going deeper and deeper into that inner structures of that ideology, and phases of history it was passing through, we realized that nothing is there, and we can see as united. One man, after living 22 decades, 20 or 40 years with a woman, is seeing that they are not united. They are gradually distancing themselves. In a relationship, we can say, in any patterns of life, we can see this. I'm not telling this as a negative factor, but as a reality. When we realize that we are getting distanced from a friend, we can then diagnose what happens in this relation. When you are fed up with an ideological pattern, we can verify what is wrong with it or what is wrong with us. This kind of a self-critical way of thinking is a must of the day to keep all relations intact, to keep every mind with the full light and love. Otherwise, I think things won't be very good. Everybody is a perspective. Everybody is a voice of a particular ideology, a way of thinking. We are not united to a particular, to Christianity, to Quran, or to Hinduism, or to Marxism, or to Gandhism, or to Buddhism. We are sharing things from many things. Buddhist is sharing many things from other religions. Communist is getting knowledge from science and other things. We are sharing things. We are not confined to a particular ideology or faith system. We have to take many things from many sources. While I was in China for a short visit during 1997, the one writer of the Shanghai Writers Association was telling us we believe in borrowing, because we are now borrowing crores of dollars from America and rubles from Russia and so where, many sources. We are not ashamed of this, because when we look into nature, we see that we are borrowing many things from sun. some moon, from the ocean, from the wind, from the smells, from the soil. We are borrowing many things from this. This is when we are listening to him, this become an absurd statement, but gradually we will realize that without going to all areas of life, we can't survive, we can't breathe well. If we want to breathe justice, we have to collect a gamut of things, materials. And if we want to love, we have to learn many things about hatred. If we want to remember, we have to know what is forgetfulness. So I think this kind of coming and going of mind is a symptom of life.
I think we can bring it to this thing with if you can say a little bit about somebody who you are usually talk very fondly about Luzon.
Oh, yes.
How he relates to all these things that you are talking.
Lushan was never a member of the Chinese Communist Party, though he was hailed as the supreme cultural genius of that period by Mao Zedong, because he was narrating the life of the ordinary man. He was using old stories, the way of retelling the old stories in a new way, and he was picking up the slow minds of the people, the madman, or the IQ, the IQ, and so many unromantic heroes. To tell him, this unromantic hero is not a hero, it is an anti-hero. He was writing history through these characters, because the Chinese people were fed up with great empires and dynasties, and they were fed up with the great chants of Buddhism and Taoism, Confucianism, and everything. And he himself was telling that declare war with the tradition and get modernized by your thinking and reading and writing and mingling with the people. This is the only way to liberate the people. Without modernization of the Chinese way of thinking, Chinese way of experiences, Chinese way of expressing things, we can't be a people in the modern world. This was his position, and he made everything to this concept of his creative life or creative vision.